This map shows the sprawling borders of the Roman world long before it was an empire. At this point, Rome was a republic, governed by a shared senate but heavily influenced by a handful of elite military generals. One of those generals, Julius Caesar, began accumulating battlefield victories at a staggering rate, creating a fatal imbalance in Rome's carefully divided power structure. Inside the Senate building, lawmakers realized their top general was rapidly outgrowing their ability to contain him. A political system designed to distribute authority simply breaks when one individual secures more military and economic leverage than the government itself. In 44 BC, those lawmakers assassinated Julius Caesar, calculating that eliminating the man would automatically restore the republic. Instead, the sudden violence shattered the state, wiping out the top of the command chain and creating a massive void in leadership. To the east, a formidable alliance rose to fill that void, built on the combined military and economic might of Roman general Mark Antony and Egyptian Queen Cleopatra. Opposing them was Caesar's 19-year-old adopted son, Octavian. He rallied the traditionalists back in the capital, positioning himself as the strict defender of Roman order. With the known world formally split between two heavily armed spheres of influence, a massive civil war was guaranteed. By 31 BC, the two forces converged. This aerial photograph shows the narrow coastline of Actium in Greece, which served as an inescapable geographical bottleneck for absolute control of the state. Antony and Cleopatra arrived with a massive fleet of heavy, armored warships, planning to crush their opponents through sheer volume and defensive bulk. Octavian had delegated his naval command to Marcus Agrippa, a strategist who recognized that physical size could be defeated by superior battlefield mechanics. The stone relief illustrates the mechanical efficiency of the Roman naval war machine. Agrippa deployed significantly lighter, faster ships, instructing his crews to avoid head-on collisions and instead rapidly outflank the bulky Egyptian vessels. Once the engagement began, agile tactical strikes systematically disabled the heavier fleet, neutralizing Antony's primary advantage. In this tactical visualization, Antony's static defensive line fractures the moment Agrippa's flanking maneuvers pierce their formation. Facing a crumbling front, Cleopatra makes a sudden calculation, ordering her ships to pull out and flee the combat zone entirely. Watching her retreat, Antony made a disastrous choice. He abandoned his own struggling soldiers to follow her fleeing ships. Left completely leaderless, the remaining defensive fleet collapsed, handing Octavian absolute victory. Decades of political gridlock, assassinations, and military standoffs were definitively resolved in a single afternoon on the water. When Octavian returned to the capital, the chaotic power vacuum triggered by Caesar's death was now completely filled by one man. The exhausted Senate surrendered its remaining authority, granting him the exclusive title of Augustus. The illusion of a shared republic was officially discarded, crowning Augustus as the first emperor of Rome. The violent struggle originally intended to prevent a king directly resulted in the creation of an absolute monarch. This vintage map displays the starting point of the empire, centered closely on the Italian peninsula, before its borders rapidly expanded under his undisputed rule. Under Augustus, the imperial footprint exploded outward, swallowing up vast territories across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. The centralized command structure he built proved so resilient that it remained intact for over 500 years. Half a millennium of global dominance traces straight back to the bottleneck at Actium. By outmaneuvering a heavier fleet in the coastal waters of Greece, Octavian definitively sank a broken republic and forged the largest empire in human history.